and welcome to Yoga in a Pint Online. I'm Viv. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to work on the hips today. So if you want some music, you're going to jump into any of the playlists really that bring you joy and get you moving. But if you want to follow along with me today, I'm going to be in Vinyasa Flow 1. And we're going to start in the middle, kind of toward the end, with a song called Riptide by Vance Joy. So we're going to start by just moving and getting a little movement happening in the hips. So start by just bringing one knee up and then the other. So any music that kind of gets you moving a little bit, and we'll slow it down, don't worry. But we want to get a little movement in the hips just to get us started and warmed up. So if your hips have been bothering you lately, two things could be going on that I think all of us are experiencing right now, which is one, you're probably doing a lot more on the computer, especially if you have a job where you need to do a lot of Zoom. Bring those heels back towards your hips and just swing the arms back straight. So maybe sitting a little bit more at the computer than usual. Another reason, energetically, our hips are all about momentum, about moving forward, and with the next couple months being so uncertain with things like school, elbows back for a few, we can feel a little stuck, like we aren't sure what step we're going to take next. So just maybe that relates, maybe not. Pause. Reach back for one foot, maybe extend the other arm for balance. This is a nice big stretch for that hip flexor we're really going to get into today. And your quadricep muscle at the front of your leg. Switch it over to the other side. Take that stretch. Find a little balance right off the bat. Bring it back so you feel that stretch, but it's not painful. Just waking up that front of our leg, quadricep muscle, and hip flexor. Take a deep breath. Step nice and wide, toes out, heels in, bring it down and all the way up. So we're gonna move the hips, we're gonna stretch. We're gonna find some quiet at the end, of course. On the next one, you're gonna settle in and sink low just for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on up. Exhale those hands to your heart, straight legs. One more, just nice straight, march. Bring both hands over that knee, bringing the knee up, moving those hips forward. And then bring the knees back, elbows in. We're gonna get moving today and stretch all sides. So we're gonna stretch the front, sides, and those glutes. Lots of modifications along the way, so as always, take what feels good for your body. All right, we're gonna hold once again on each side for that stretch. Find that balance. Bring it over to the other side. You can extend the opposite arm to help you balance, or grab the back of a chair, or just hang onto the wall if you're nearby a wall. Deep breaths. Nice. Last thing here, we're just gonna bring it down, toes out, heels in, you're gonna bring it down, up and across. Just wake up that core a little bit. Once we're nice and warm, then we get into the movements and stretches in the hips. Should feel really good. One more on each side. Here we go. This is last one. Last one. Take a deep breath. Shake it all out. Have a seat. So the first thing we're going to do, sitting down here in our yoga poses, is we're going to take some hip circles, seated hip circles. So find your comfortable seated position. Roll those shoulders up and back, sitting up tall. Take a deep breath. Open mouth, exhale. Once again. We're going to allow ourselves to move, to breathe, to take breaks. We're going to start with a little circle. So bring the chest forward as you circle forward, and then round the back as you bring it back. Just a couple in each direction here, getting a little movement in the spine. So often if our hips are really sore, stuck, then our back is trying to compensate for that lack of mobility. So sometimes hips and low back issues kind of go together. So we're gonna get a little bit of love for both. And this hip sequence goes really well with the back bending sequence. So look that one up as well. They can kind of work together to get some movement in the hips and back. A couple more in each direction, just see where it feels the best. If you feel a little stuck, maybe this can kind of get things moving in those hips and low back. All right, find some stillness there. Sit up tall. Think hips, shoulders, ears. So you've got a nice tall spine. Then you're gonna pick up your top leg, hold on to the knee and the arch of the foot, and just a little rock side to side. So finding that little movement in the hip. I'm just gonna ease into things. Try to take deep breaths. So sometimes, like when I said energetically we feel stuck here, all of our forward momentum and movement in our life comes from the hip area energetically, but it can feel really stuck when we are not sure of the next step we're supposed to take, right? Go ahead and switch to the other side. So if we're unsure of what the fall will bring, especially if you're a teacher or you have little ones who are going to be in school of some form, because it's uncertain, it feels kind of shaky or unsure of the next step. So we feel a little stuck energetically because our momentum is kind of in a waiting pattern. So maybe just something to pay attention to. If there's small steps you can take to prepare, might make you feel a little bit better. All right, let's take both those legs straight out in front of you, sitting up tall. I'm gonna give those hamstrings a stretch as well. That feeds into the flexibility of the hips. If we're really tight in the back of the body, it's hard for the hips to have some more mobility. So sitting up tall, reach arms up overhead. Big inhale, get tall. Exhale, fold forward. Touch your toes or your ankles or your shins, but allow your chest and head to gently come forward. Breathe. Roll yourself back up. Take that deep breath, roll shoulders up. Exhale them down and back. Nice. And we're gonna roll onto our backs. So go ahead and come onto your mat so you can roll down, feet over to the sides, knees bent. Tuck your shoulders underneath you a little bit, palms can lie down, open to the ceiling. And we're gonna continue that movement in the hips and low back by just taking these side to side. So a lot of the stuff we're going to start doing down here on the mat, we're going to take it up to the standing posture, like figure 4. And then we're going to bring it back down to nice big stretches, so we're just evening out this movement and stillness and holding and releasing in those hips. All right, find some stillness here, knees point up, scoot them just a little closer to each other. Hands to your belly if you'd like to just continue to make sure that breath is coming all the way down into your belly. With an inhale and exhale. And then you're going to pick up your right foot, cross it over the left. A gentle press on this knee, check in with your hip. If you're pretty flexible, you don't feel anything here. If you feel it, stay right there. Remember, these are the modifications. You're going to choose your own adventure. So if you feel this stretch, stay here. Flex this foot. If you don't feel that, you can reach to the back of the left leg and gently start to draw those knees toward you, flexing both feet. If you still don't feel anything, you can take that right elbow and press the right knee away as you bring the legs toward you. So you're adding some stretch to that right side. Oh yeah, that's a good spot. Once you feel that engagement, it's not painful, but it's like a rubber band engaged with that energy. Stay there and breathe. Try to use each exhale to melt into that side. See if you can release just a little further. If you want a little hamstring love for that left leg, the one that you're holding in the back, you can straighten that left leg and add a hamstring stretch. So if that's too much going on, keep the knee bent. Just breathe. All right, we're gonna bring that left foot back down and uncross. Pause there for a second and just notice how both hips are feeling. Take one side to side, just kind of even out the energy. All right, then we're gonna switch to the other side. So plant the right foot, left comes up, crosses over, flex the foot. And one side's generally gonna be a little different than the other. You know, we're not as symmetrical as we think. If this isn't enough stretch, go ahead and reach to the back of the right. My left side's definitely more tight than my right. So just take note of where you're at. Without judgment, just notice. So an interesting to think about is we think we're very symmetrical, but think of all the things you do that's not the same on one side as the other, like driving, right? We always are using one foot. What about getting in and out of bed? You generally sleep on the same side every night, so like when you get out of bed, which leg swings out of bed first? And when you sit, do you cross your legs in one direction more frequently? Just start to pay attention and see where you can even things out a little bit in your body. Or when you notice one side is a little tighter than the other, you just do so with like, oh yeah, I do more with that side. And give yourself love and not judgment. Take another deep breath here. And then we're gonna uncross those. Oh, so good. One more little side to side. Nice. All right. We're gonna rock and roll, and we're gonna make it through one vinyasa to give the whole body a little love, and then we're gonna land in a chair pose with an option for a figure four, which was just like we were doing here on the floor, but standing. So we're gonna add a little balance and gravity. So cross those ankles, rock forward, coming into your tabletop. And I just have to check my song. It's how I keep time. All right, perfect. Little arch to cow pose. And round to that arch, cat pose. A little more, one in each direction. Come back to your long flat back. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog, stretch it back. Inhale to look up at your hands. Exhale, step or hop up to the top. Inhale to a halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to stand. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Inhale, breathe and reach arms high. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant those palms. Step or hop back to your high plank. Find that chaturanga. Inhale to up dog or low cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Drop to your knees. Bring the shoulders up, back, down. Take a nice deep breath here, finding that low, slow belly breath. We're gonna make our way back up to standing, reach arms high. Exhale them down to the mat. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, look up at your hands. Exhale, step or hop to the top. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come on up. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart. All right, we're gonna move into that chair pose to get into the figure four and really stretch the hips further. So, feet are parallel. Press into your heels. Stack your hips, shoulders, ears right over the heels. Hands to your heart to start. Take a deep breath. Exhale, start to sit back into your chair. As you sink low, weight in the heels, pick up your toes for a second, and then press them back into the mat. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Feel that squish? Feel steady? All right. Now is the figure four. If you're not into that hip opener figure four, you're gonna stay right here. Otherwise, you're gonna shift the weight into your left foot, pick up the right, cross it over, sink into it. So just like we were doing on the ground, finding that hip opener, but now you've got strength and balance at play. Continue to breathe. Slow, deep breaths. Keep your eyes steady. One more breath here. You're gonna come up, tap the toes, and then step back all the way into your crescent lunge. So as your back leg stretches back, make sure your feet are nice and wide. Hands to your hips for a moment. So hips or shoulders are forward toward the short end of your mat. Start to feel that stretch in the front of your hip, that hip flexor. Inhale to straighten the front leg, and then exhale, bring it forward. Park right where you feel that engagement. Hold and breathe. We're gonna straighten and bend 2 more times. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. 1 more. Find that straight, strong back leg. Take a deep breath. Exhale, bring it all the way down. Hands come to the inside of that front foot. Drop the back knee. Continue with that stretch. Untuck your toes. Rock forward and back. You can be flat palms or up on your fingertips or on your knuckles. Feel that movement in the hip there. Now, if you want a deeper stretch for that hip flexor, you're gonna drop down to the elbows in the front of the mat. Big stretch for that hip flexor. If this is not comfortable, it is not required. You are choosing your own adventure. What does your hips need? What is your body asking for today? So wherever you are, breathe into it. We're gonna add on a little hip circling here. So 2 more breaths in the runner's lunge or up on your hands, just leaning into that front of the hip to your comfort. All right, now plant the palms, tuck the toes under in the back, lift that knee, and then step the front foot back into your downward facing dog. Take a moment there and just notice if one hip feels a little different than the other. Then drop down to your knees. One more big circling for this hip, and then we'll stretch. So bring that right foot up and around by the hands. If your back knee needs more cushion, bend the mat over. You can be on your knuckles or on your flat palms. We're gonna take this a little deeper circle. So first we had that leg back, stretching the hip flexor in the front. Now with the circle, we're getting kind of into that whole ball and socket. Finding a little movement. Moving that energy out if it feels a little stagnant or stuck. All right, we're gonna slow it down. Tuck those back toes, lift the back knee, step that right foot all the way back once again and hold for a moment. Take a deep breath and then exhale, drop to the knees. Big toes together, knees wide, press back into your child's pose. Give your head somewhere to rest and just mentally check in with your hips. Notice if that right side feels any different than the left. Then we're going to continue to move and make our way to the other side. Inhale to come on up to your tabletop. Exhale, tuck your toes, find your downward facing dog. Look up at your hands, step or hop up to the top. Inhale to that halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to chair. As you come up, hips sink low, settle into your chair. Weight in your heels, pick up your toes. Start to plug the toes back in, holding on. Sink 1 more inch. Breathe. We're going to shift into that figure 4 on this side. If you're going to, you can always stay here in chair with no figure 4, or you're going to shift all the weight into the right foot, pick up the left, cross it over, sink into it. Remember, we've been here before. This is what we did at the beginning with that nice big stretch. Breathe. Sink 1 more inch. Keep your eyes steady. Keep your breath calm. Here comes that lunge. As you come up, you can tap the floor or move or arrange as you need to. Step it back into your crescent lunge. Inhale, reach your arms high. Exhale, come on down to the hips. Hips and shoulders face forward. Back leg as straight as it can be. Front hip or left hip getting that big stretch. Straighten. Exhale, bend. Come into that perfect spot for you. 2 more. Last one. Hold and breathe. Again, just finding that right spot for you where you feel the stretch in the front of the hip. Finding that nice strength in the front leg. Inhale to reach your arms nice and high. Exhale, hands come all the way down to the front of the mat. Drop your back knee. Start to stretch forward and back. Again, you can be up on your knuckles or on your fingertips or flat on your palms. You're just going to rock back and forth. If you like that runner's lunge on the other side, drop down to your elbows, sink into it. We're going to come up to make enough space for that back leg to come up and around for those circles. So we're gonna tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, step back into your downward facing dog, pedal it out for a moment. Hopefully we're feeling a little bit more even. Take a deep breath. Exhale down to your tabletop. Bring that left foot around. Slowly back and forth, circles. So getting into all sides of the hip. That nice ball and socket joints, we wanna feel that circular motion. We're gonna bring the knee back around into a tabletop. Take one cat and cow. Arch, round. Knees a little wider. We're gonna take those hips back towards the heels all the way around. One more in this direction, and then we're gonna switch. Come on back up. Take that child's pose again. If your forehead doesn't touch, cross your arms or ball up your fists. Give your head some support and breathe. And then go ahead and press up onto your hands and knees. Bring your seat to the mat, bring your feet around to the front. So we're gonna roll down. I've got a couple more lying down stretches, and then you're gonna end in either a figure four or pigeon. So roll down back onto your back. Couple options here. You could just let the knees fall side to side again. Or you can take this a little deeper. When both knees rock to one side, hold there. And then roll onto your hip and support your head. Reach for the foot of that top leg. Point your knee away from you. Big quadricep and hamstring stretch, or hip flexor. So feeling that, deep, slow breaths. We're gonna have some add-ons here that are definitely optional. You don't have to take them. You can bring the knee in, hook into the elbow. You can grab the big toe, straighten the leg out parallel to the floor. Big stretch on the top of the hip, up here. And then, if you're feeling good there, you can lift that foot up to the sky. Big stretch for the inner thigh here. And what you're doing is just giving the knee and hip a bit more mobility with that stretch. Then we're gonna make our way on to the other side. I'm gonna just roll over, but you can just tip to the opposite side. Support your head. Start with that quadricep and hip flexor stretch. So point your knee away from you. Breathe. Then we're gonna add on, if you want, you're gonna bring the knee around. Maybe it's just this stretch. Maybe you grab that big toe, straighten the leg parallel to the ground. Big stretch. And then if it feels good, you're gonna lift that leg to the sky. Again, just noticing what side is a little tighter without judgment, just noticing where you're at today. And then we're gonna make it our way into our last pose of the day, of this session. So your choices are going to be coming into that figure four again, rolling down onto the back, bringing the knee across, finding that figure four here, or you're gonna take half pigeon. And half pigeon, we're gonna get to through our down dog. So come into your down dog and then lift your right foot. Exhale, bring the knee forward and place it behind your right wrist, and then scoot your toes back. Now, if your hips do not touch the ground on both sides and are parallel to the ground, if this hip is way up in the sky, you could put a pillow or a cushion or a support under that hip. You want to support your hips so that your low back isn't straining. So if your hips are parallel and resting, you can walk your hands forward, come down onto your elbows maybe, or all the way down onto your hands. And just melt into the side with slow, deep exhales. Now stay right there in your figure four or in your pigeon, unless you want a little deeper king pigeon. And this is a bit of a back bend and a bigger quadricep and hip flexor stretch. This is not for day one, so this is a bit more advanced pose. If you're interested, you're gonna bend the back knee and reach back with the same hand for the top of that foot. So you start there, big stretch of the front of the hip. Now, if you're ready and as you're ready, if you want to add on, you start to slip that foot into the crook of your elbow. And again, each of these is, you know, wherever your body's at is just perfect. So don't race to the next thing if it's causing any discomfort. One of the final expressions of this pose is bringing the other arm around and interlacing fingers. And again, step by step, if it's something that you're working on, breathe into each day and let those hips open as they're ready. That's also a bit of a big back bend, so be kind to yourself if that's not good for your body. Take a deep breath. We're gonna make our way onto the other side. If you're in figure four, uncross your feet, give those knees a little side to side before you switch to the other side. If you were just in half pigeon and king pigeon, you're gonna tuck those back toes, lift that right foot, bring it back into your down dog and pedal it out for just a moment, and then set up on the other side. Just breathe into it as you sink the hips down to the ground and just monitor both sides. So are hips still parallel to the ground? Do I feel supported and equal? Then I can walk the hands forward, coming down somewhere to support the head, and breathe. Melt into the side. If you're good there, you're going to stay there. If you're in your figure four and you want to add on by grabbing the back of that other hamstring, or if you're in pigeon and you want to come up to those palms again, maybe that's good enough. Just adding that back bend and adding the lift makes the stretch of the hip flexor even deeper. If you want to reach back for the foot, again, noticing if there's differences on each side without judgment, just noticing where you're at today. And then we'll come out. We're going to join the people on their back. So if you're already on your back in figure four, just uncross your legs. If you're in that pigeon, bring it back to down dog one more time and pedal it out. And then drop to the knees. Drop to your seat. Go ahead and lie down on your back. Let those knees gently sway side to side, releasing the low back. And then the last love for those hips. Soles of the feet together, knees open, Supta Baddha Konasana. Just slow, deep breaths. Tuck your shoulders underneath you. Allow gravity to gently be pressing down on the knees. I'm going to leave you here for today. If you're staying in your Shavasana, stay in that Shavasana for as long as your schedule allows. Throughout the day, just monitor as you're sitting or moving, getting out of the car or taking a walk. Just notice how those hips are doing. Check back in with yourself and allow yourself a little more time for figure four or for Supta Baddha Konasana. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time. Until then.